guys, this is Blake here. Just a few updates on a few things. There's a new Critiquing the Critics episode out on my website. It'll be released on YouTube sometime this week, probably Wednesday or Thursday. I added a bunch more stuff to my website. I completely did my Critiquing the Critics page where I talk a little bit about my ratings, the reviewer Triforce. I listed all the Critiquing the Critics episode from there, categorized by seasons, and the quickies and the re-reviews. They all get their own section. And all I have to do in terms of my video reviews is add all my Kick-Ass of Awesome episodes and Creepy Bald Guy reviews and write whatever information I want to write about those. I've also added a lot of my older reviews, my written reviews, to the horror section. I'm still completely behind on that, but I'm working on that as fast as I can. And of course, it's Hellraiser month, where I'm doing written reviews of all the Hellraiser movies. I've gotten through 3, and the 4th one's probably going to be out tomorrow. Anything else? I got a new webcam, and I'm going to try doing that with my video reviews, because based on what I saw, it looked really well. I'm just not ready to shoot it quite yet. Probably, though, the next video you see will be based on that webcam. So yeah, I'm probably going to have to change the setting a little bit. I'll try to move the poster in there, so hopefully that will turn out okay. Anyway, I'm talking about John Carter. This was a movie I really wasn't anticipating too much. When I saw the original trailer, I thought it looked really good. I always like it when trailers try to evoke emotional reactions from us. So you're not just seeing a bunch of special effects. There's a sense of wonderment about them, and I always think that's always a good thing for a movie to capture. But the more and more they released about it, the more generic it started to look. And by the time the second and the more main trailer came out, I just thought it looked average. It didn't grab me at all. It reminded me of other movies, and that's really going to haunt this movie. But the only thing that really did recapture my interest was the fact that it cost $250 million to make. Now, I always presumed Avatar was $300 million, but apparently it was only like $237 million, so this is even more expensive than Avatar. But the most expensive movies were Pirates of the Caribbean 3 with $300 million, I think Tangled with $260 million. I'm thinking, where did the money go in those movies? But so one of the things I was going to look at is, did I see all of that money on screen? You know, Avatar might have a really average script that's really pretentious and preachy and cliched, but at least with that movie, I felt I saw every dollar of it on screen. But I figured this is going to bomb unless it gets really good reviews. That's its only chance, because honestly, it just looked so average from the marketing campaign, and they didn't even really know how to market it. It's just called John Carter, which is really, really forgettable and generic. And but the posters kind of imply it's called John Carter of Mars, and nobody's going to get that, though, unless they know the actual title. So it was a really... Disney or whoever marketed this really fumbled there. So is the movie any good? I thought it was okay. It's one of those movies where it's 50% stupid, marginally entertaining special effects laden spectacle, like Green Lantern, Clash of the Titans, those types of movies where you're not really supposed to look at it as good or bad. You're just supposed to be wowed by the visual effects. But then the other 50% wants to be more, but also fails at it half of the time. So it's difficult to say, because on one hand, I'd say it's a better movie than Green Lantern and Clash of the Titans, but it's not as good as it thinks. And at least Clash of the Titans and Green Lantern, they knew what they were, so there was no real pretense there. Whereas this one, like I said, it wants to be more, but it just doesn't really succeed at it. The first major problem is, well, I'm not really familiar with the source material, but I do know that it was written like 100 years ago or so, and it really inspired a lot of sci-fi and fantasy films since then, including books. But the problem is we've seen all of that so much by now that almost everything this movie has is a cliche. It constantly reminded me of other movies, and that's never, ever a good thing. The ones that stood out the most are, well, Star Wars in terms of the ship designs, a little bit of Avatar in terms of the alien designs, but I actually think those comparisons were kind of overblown. Prince of Persia, I thought that was weird. The whole love story reminded me way too much of Prince of Persia, and I'm thinking, Was it taking inspiration from Prince of Persia, or was Prince of Persia taking inspiration from the original source material? I don't know. Maybe it was all coincidence, but a lot of this movie reminded me of Prince of Persia, except not as good, and that really says a lot. I can't remember. There's a lot of it's just kind of minor stuff, but like Tron Legacy occasionally came to mind. All of those disillusioned former war general or colonel, whatever the rank is, who pretty much gives up on the military and is real pessimistic, kind of like Last Samurai. The whole "this isn't my fight" type argument they always use. I always hate that shit. Like Transformers 2 and the stupid ass Tekken movie. And it just, the entire movie was either delivering dialogue that I thought was way too familiar, like, we didn't start this, but we'll finish this, or it's just reminding me of other movies, whether visually or story-wise. And, it's not like it's blatantly ripping off anything, but it makes everything seem way too familiar. Another major problem is that it does not do a good job at making you like your protagonists. The main character, throughout the most of the movie, he's really hostile towards people who need his help, and he keeps doing that "this isn't my fight" type spiel. But when you learn why he's this way, on one hand, the scene when you realize why he's so messed up about everything, it is actually a very moving scene. It's probably the best scene in the whole movie. But it also makes him seem like a prick because he's pretty much thinking, oh, it's okay that all these other people go through the same shit that I did because I just don't want to get involved. I don't like that. I think that when certain movies, they want you to like this character, but they make them that prickish, it's just not going to work. Also, the main love interest, she's continuously berating this guy for not getting involved, for not sacrificing his wants for other people, etc., etc., etc. But she refuses to marry this guy. Now we find out, of course, that marrying him would be a very bad idea. But throughout most of the movie, they don't know this, and it just comes across that she just doesn't want to get married to him, so screw everybody else. But I know they did this intentionally because they're supposed to develop, and I always admire when movies try to develop its characters, but it goes on for too long, and throughout most of the movie, I just wanted to punch these people. What else was there? It really mismanages its time. There's a lot of time spent on filler that I didn't feel was necessary. Like, there's a lot of screen time dedicated to the whole setup where, he's on our Earth, and you learn a little bit about him, and he interacts with these soldier guys, and it's just very pointless. I felt so much of that could have been cut out because it's a pretty long movie, although it's not as long as it feels, at least. And it's just really awkwardly paced, but there's just so much. And ironically, the stuff that I ended up really liking the most was that pointless filler. I loved the bits with the weird dog monster thing, and I liked Bryan Cranston. I believe he played a colonel. I thought he was really fun, and there was just all these little side characters that I thought were much more interesting than the main characters. And it was so sad that the movie spends so much time on the main characters and their bland interactions with other bland characters. And it's sort of like what I felt with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I thought everybody was interesting in that movie except the main two characters. And that always is going to hurt the film. And it made everything really awkwardly paced. I was pretty bored throughout a lot of the movie, so even though it's ambitious, it's not really fun. And it makes it really hard to tell whether or not it's better than the movies like Green Lantern and Clash of the Titans. Because at least those movies I thought were fairly enjoyable, even if they were kind of bad. This one, it's not bad, it's just not that enjoyable either. The last thing I'll say, and this is obviously where the good parts come in, did I see $250 million on screen? I guess. The special effects are at least a lot better than Green Lanterns and Thor, and a lot of other big special effect-laden movies I've seen lately. There's only a few times where I felt the visual effects looked phony, and that was at the end during some of the action scenes, but I thought the alien designs and execution of said designs were really well done. The spaceships were probably the best in the whole movie, because I like how they have like this glass dome and you can see the people walking around in there. And these are like wide shots too, so you're just like seeing specks. But I thought it's those little details that make things seem more realistic when it comes to CGI. When the action happens, it is usually very good. I did like how they use gravity pools and how that makes John Carter so badass. I thought that was actually probably the film's most creative idea. And I think that's pretty much it. The visual effects, they're big in scale, and but they're also, it focuses a lot on the little details. And I always think that's a combination all CGI horror movies should have. So, is it better than Avatar? No, I thought Avatar at least had much more of a kick in terms of its visuals, but I'd say at least as a visual-oriented movie, it was all right. So would I recommend it? It's one of those movies. If you want to see it, go ahead. If not, I wouldn't bother. It's just, like I said, I compare it with movies like Green Lantern and Clash of the Titans, except it has higher moments, but it's also a little slower and a little bit more boring, I thought. So take that as you will. That's all. If you want to read my written review, check the links in my description. I'll see you guys later.